Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Dr. Tom Cowan. He is an author, speaker, holistic health expert, and he challenges the present norms and he talks about empowering strategies that reveal transformative potential of holistic health based on new biology principles. Welcome to the show, Dr. Tom.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you. Welcome to the show, Dr. Tom. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We will explore new approaches to health. We'll all understand about all this from you. But before this, Dr. Tom, if you can take us a bit about your background, about your journey, so that people know who they are listening to.
So I went to usual sort of upbringing and went to college, and then I didn't like what I was hearing, so I decided to teach gardening in Africa for a few years. There I happened to learn that there was another way to look at the world besides what I had learned. So I decided to be a doctor and try to understand why we get sick and how to stay healthy with food and natural healing. And what I discovered along the way is that most of what we were taught and most of what we come to believe in conventional biology and science and medicine is, for lack of a better word, pure nonsense. And so I started writing books that the heart doesn't pump the blood and blocked arteries don't cause heart attacks, and cancer has nothing to do with genetics. In fact, now I don't even think there even is something called DNA that makes proteins, that vaccines are neither safe or effective. And then eventually I discovered there's no such thing as a virus. They made that up. And bacteria don't cause disease. Even worms don't really cause disease, and parasites don't cause disease. And then I went on to more difficult things because those were the easy ones.
Right, Dr. Tom. So, the modern medicine, conventional medicine, there have been lots of research, and not in just 1 or 2 years. We can say a few people have done it and then, pushed it in the mainstream, but over several, say, 100 of years at least. And so I want to understand then that it has come through a long process of itself. One may agree, one may not agree. That's a lot of people do not agree within the medical science about the same sort of treatment or different sort of treatment for a particular same sort of illness. I want to understand what is the alternative. Alternative medicine is fine, but what is the alternative here? Is there another alternative instead of the modern medicine that we have at the moment? Can you provide a talk of solutions for a common person rather than they getting confused by different ideas? Either ways, there are so many different ideas that they keep on reading about the same thing itself.
So, I mean, that's a big question, and you could go for hours about that. But the bottom line is, when you get right down to it, the thing that modern medicine has gotten confused about and is wrong, which underlies everything, is they misinterpret symptoms that we get as diseases rather than wise attempts to heal by the body. So let me give you an example. Let's say somebody gets a splinter in their finger and they don't take it out. Now, eventually what'll happen is you'll get pus around the splinter, right? Everybody will see that. Now, if you go to your medical doctor, and like I was trained, you tell the person, well, you have an infection in your finger, and so you need to take antibiotics to stop the infection. They think that that is an externally caused problem that they can fix with an external solution. The reality, as anybody with any sense will know, is that the pus is the therapy for the splinter, right? The pus gets the splinter out of the body. So if you want to help it, you could take the splinter out and then the pus will go away. But there's no infection there. And so the point is the body is trying to heal by making pus. Now, if you think of that with, here's another example. You breathe in dust and debris and electromagnetic fields that aren't good for you. And the next thing you know, you get a cough with mucus, right? You go to the doctor and he thinks you have bronchitis caused by an imaginary virus or a bacteria. So he gives you a medicine to stop you from coughing and to kill the bacteria. Now, you may get better temporarily, but then it'll come back and you'll eventually get it over and over again. The reality is that cough and mucus are your body's attempt to heal. And so if you just help it get the mucus out, then it will resolve and your life will be better. Now, you can even get complicated ones. Like if you put a whole lot of garbage in your house, most people will put the garbage in garbage bags and take it to the garage, right? Now, if you put a whole lot of garbage in your house called your body, then you put it into receptacles, and now we call them tumors. Nobody would think that the way to stop the garbage is to stop you from putting the garbage into bags and putting it in the garage. Like, that's ridiculous. Yet we somehow say the tumor is the problem. And so we cut out the tumor and expect that to solve your so-called cancer problem. And of course, it never does, or almost never, because the problem is not the tumor, that's the solution. The problem is you're putting garbage in your house and not taking it out to the curb. And you can go through every single medical problem and find out why the body is choosing to do this. And I can tell you that if you decide to stop the body from doing it, which is all conventional medicine and most alternative medicine, by the way, they just use turmeric instead of antibiotics. They think the same way, and eventually you'll get sicker and sicker and you'll never figure out why. It's the reason is because your thinking is wrong.
Right. So thinking is wrong. So if there is, so should we say there is a problem with the medical science itself, or is it the people who are practicing it? A few of them are not practicing it in the way they should look at it. It can be with any sort of discipline. If we look at in today's time, how should we then understand? Even for alternative medicine, you said about in the same way. Nobody stops anyone from going the natural way. People do not go the natural way. Then there is a problem in the body with the modern lifestyle that we have, especially. And then we want to have instant relief. No doctor comes to your house and tells you, listen, you have to take this recourse. Only when you go to that place, maybe a few doctors will have a different sort of understanding of that particular ailment or disease or whatever you may want to call it. So how should then a common person look at their health, look at their overall holistic health? Should it be after they go to the doctor, or should it be then the fact is that they should prevention is better than cure?
So I actually don't agree with even the idea of prevention versus cure, because people say, yeah, I've never met a perfectly healthy person in my life. So everybody is sick and everybody is doing well enough in a way. It depends how you look at it. So that's not a dichotomy that I think has any relevance. The real thing here is, Pete, in the first question, is it science that's sick or the practitioners that are sick? The real problem after all these years, so I've been looking at this for 40 years, and I would include myself into what I'm about to say. What I've realized is that we live in a profoundly scientifically illiterate culture. And I don't know much about India, but I assume it's the same thing. And what happens then, scientifically illiterate means that the thinking is incorrect. And I would contend that if your thinking is incorrect, you'll never be able to solve problems. And let me give you an example of what I mean by scientifically illiterate. The process of science is based on falsifying hypotheses. In other words, somebody makes a claim like viruses exist, and then you try to falsify that claim. If the claim can't be falsified, like there's a God, like you can't really falsify that claim, then it's a belief, not a scientific, principle or law. It's not got anything to do with thinking. Now, unfortunately, most people, including most doctors, don't understand that. So, for instance, if I say COVID, there's no such thing as SARS-CoV-2. There's no such thing as a virus. Nobody has ever shown that to be true. The response I get from doctors and scientists is, well, what causes COVID? Now, here's an example of why that's ridiculous. Let's say you're a 20-year-old guy and you're Asian and your parents are Caucasian, and then you go through your parents' closet and you find out that you were adopted, right? You see adoption. And you go to your best friend and you say, wow, I just found out I was adopted today. And he says, so who are your parents? And you say, I don't know. I just found out today I was adopted. I think they got me in China. And he says, until you tell me who your parents are, I don't believe you were adopted. Like, that's ridiculous, right? I mean, ridiculous. But that's like, so tell me what causes COVID, or tell me what causes rheumatoid arthritis. First of all, you have to assume there is such a thing as rheumatoid arthritis, which there isn't. There's no autoimmune disease because there's no antibodies. And the whole thing, when you really get into the science, so is it the science or the scientist? It's both. They say antibodies. So if you get antibodies, you're immune for life, right? You get measles, then you get antibodies, then you're immune for life. And if you get the flu, then you make antibodies, but then you're only immune for 1 year because the antibodies, wear off. And then if you get AIDS, that means that's because you have antibodies to HIV. And now we know that if you have antibodies, that means the virus is going to kill you. So in the first, they told you that if you have antibodies, you're immune. And then they tell you if you have antibodies, that means you're going to die. And you think, what kind of a person says something like that? It's like they just told you directly opposite things. So to answer your question, people have to learn how to think. They have to start learning logic. They have to start not believing that just because everybody seems to say it, that makes it true. They have to ask the question, when I tell people, if somebody says there's a virus, ask them, how does a virologist prove the existence of a virus? Like, do you know the answer to that?
I don't know.
Right. You don't know. But and ask your medical doctor. Ask all your friends. Not one of them will know actually how you prove that that's true, which means it's a belief system. Pure belief system. You have no idea whether that's true or not. You have no idea about antibodies or immune systems or any of that stuff. It's just a belief. Now, it turns out if the belief is wrong, that's a real problem, because then you're going to inject yourself with poison to prevent yourself from getting an imaginary virus. It's no different than I think that the reason people get sick is there's invisible unicorns that bite them on the butt. That's why people get sick. So, the reason I know that's true is because I sprayed unicorn repellent around my house, and I haven't got a single unicorn bite. So I'm sure it's true. That's the kind of thinking that people are exposed to. And if you think like that, you'll do things that make you sick.
Right, right, Dr. Tom. So, from a common person's perspective, how should they then look at health? They should look at it purely from a natural point of view, and and you also talk about the connection between water and healing. So, tell us about this. How should, because for a common person, if they feel anything wrong with themselves, they go to their primary health care, their local doctor, and that is where they, until unless nobody wants to go for any advanced sort of a treatment for anything. Especially in India, people want to uh, use as many natural ways as best as possible, so that you don't need to go to a specialist doctor for anything until unless it becomes it becomes imperative.
Right. People should avoid conventional medicine pretty much at all costs, especially things that are meant to prevent them getting sick, like vaccines or tests, or because they have to realize that the conventional medical system is fear-based, right? If you don't do this, you're going to get sick. If you don't do this, you're going to have a heart attack. If you eat ghee, you're going to have a heart attack. I mean, people have been eating ghee in India for thousands of years, and they never had heart attacks until maybe 50 years ago. So it's nonsense. So the first thing is avoiding medical care, right? The only time you got medical care is if you have a knife sticking in your back and you can't get your friend to get it out and stop the bleeding. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when you ask about water, when we're told we have a lot of things, like we have cells, and we have mitochondria, and we have nucleus, and we have endoplasmic reticulum, and we have ribosomes. That's where the DNA makes the protein and all this stuff. At the end of the day, none of that is actually proven to be true, except there is a nucleus and there is mitochondria. The rest of it is not. And so we are basically an organized water system. And I think, interestingly, Ayurveda and the Vedas actually say that, right? We are organized, structured, coherent, living water. And that water accepts the influences from the field around us. And it turns the information from the field around us. That's where the dynamic information for our life comes from. And we turn that into life. Now, I don't know that much about India, but what I just said was the system that we're working with is organized water, a pool of water with essentially a dome on it that has an antenna that accepts the electromagnetic field information from the ether, and it brings that into the water to create life. You ever heard of the Taj Mahal?
I'm from India, Dr. Tom.
You know it, right?
Yes.
So let's describe what we see. We see a big pool of water, right? And we see a structure with capacitors, right? Tubes. We see a dome, and we see an antenna on the top, just like living beings. So who built that? How did they know this? How did they know they were recreating the structure of life? And what was the purpose of that? Was it to harvest the energy from the field around and bring it into the water to be used to heal and harmonize the society in which it was found? I mean, it sure looks like it, because that is exactly the system that we see in living beings. So, to your question, so what should a person do to not, especially if they live in India? Step one, go visit the Taj Mahal. And you will see, you will be amazed at the beauty that human beings could create, right? The harmony and the beauty, and you will experience the field that this structure, that I don't know when it was made exactly and who made it, but they knew how to heal people, how to heal the society they lived, and how to bring the energy from life into a system to be used for healing. So that's the blueprint. And then you can try to recreate that in your life and just start imagining what it would be like if that's what we were really made of. And forget about all these chemicals and vitamins and, you know, all the materialistic things that we're told about. Forget about that. It's water and the field. That's what we're made of.
Right, right, Dr. Tom. So,
That's
in terms of,
Ayurveda, by the way.
pardon?
That's Ayurveda, right? They bring,
Right.
they talk about the energy centers, the chakras, the flow of energy through the body, and organizing the water into a coherent whole. And if you pollute your water, then you have to, you know, poop it out or pee it out or something, or sweat it out. And that's why Ayurvedic people traditionally made people vomit and sweat and have, you know, enemas to get rid of the toxins, to clean their water pool. That's how you do it.
Yes, Ayurveda is very vast. I'm a simple person. I do not know much about it, but Ayurveda, there are many practitioners of Ayurveda here, and it is a lot of people do go by that and get treated through that method, and it is very prevalent in many aspects of here. Though modern medicine is also, a lot of people believe in it, is part of our daily lives. But can we run away from, see, modern medicine, or is it all so much commercialized, a commercialization of medical science, that we are getting the wrong sort of information, and the best is to, you know, stick with the holistic medicine, or alternative medicine, or natural medicine, or Ayurveda type of medicine in individual cultures?
Yeah, I think a guy named Buckminster Fuller said it best. The way to approach things that don't work, like conventional medicine, is not to attack them directly, but to build a better system that does work. And
Right.
so my hope and my expectation is the modern conventional medical system will die a natural death. Hopefully, I would say 98, 99% of their techniques will be gone because they're harmful and useless. There's a few things of surgery that are probably helpful to, you know, take things out of people that don't belong there and stuff. Otherwise, it's going to die a natural death, and I will not be sorry to see it go. Again, if you don't need to go, then the last place, I always wonder, people say, I went to my doctor to check on my health. I mean, your doctor doesn't know anything about health. All they know how to do is suppress your symptoms. And your symptoms are the way your body communicates to you. You breathed in poison, I'm going to cough it up. Stop breathing in poison, and then I don't need to cough anymore. It's not that complicated.
Absolutely. So, how are you contributing to people's health, Dr. Tom? Apart from talking, is there a practice that you have? Is it something that people can come to you for?
Yeah, mostly I just talk. But we did start something called the New Biology Clinic, where we have a group of doctors. We have a plastic surgeon and a neurologist and a family doctor and a psychiatrist and maybe some other ones I can't remember. A vet, and tuning fork specialists. And they all know what I'm talking about and treat people according to this way of thinking. You can find it at the newbiologyclinic.com. So it's online, so anybody anywhere in the world can join. And we treat people based on their actual story, not on bogus theories like viruses and autoimmune disease and all this stuff. So that's how we help people regain their health.
Absolutely. And you said that you talk, but you don't really talk. You talk sense, and you also write books. You have got 6 books. Tell us a bit about the books. Yes, 7 books. So tell us a bit about your books. Who are these books for? Is it for the medical science people, or is it for the common people?
It's for common people. Science and logic is falsifying hypothesis. Or there's a claim. The claim is the heart pumps the blood. So I wrote a book and I looked at, does the heart pump the blood? The answer is obviously no. There's no way the heart pushes the blood. There's a claim that the reason you get heart attack is because you have these arteries that get blocked. That's why they do stents and bypasses. They do them in India, I'm sure. They put people on statin drugs. They tell them not to eat ghee, even though people ate ghee had better health than the people who didn't. And so I looked at that and found out that there's no evidence that that's true. So that's one book. Then I looked at the evidence that vaccines prevent illness, and there's no evidence for that. And then I wrote a book about what causes cancer and whether it's a genetic disease, and there's no evidence for that. And then I wrote a book about viruses and contagion. Do sick people make well people sick? Everybody seems to think that's true. You got sick, and then your wife got sick, and then your child got sick, and Aunt Harry got sick, and then Fred got sick, etc. If you go looking for a study in the medical literature showing that sick people or animals make well people sick, I can guarantee there's not a single study. In fact, a friend of mine wrote a book about this, 200 studies disproving contagion. It's called Can You Catch a Cold? So that is a myth. It's a powerful myth, but it's a erroneous, it's nonsense. So that's what I do. I look at things that are claimed to be true, find out they're not true, and then, so how do you not have a heart attack? What does cause heart attacks? If it's not blocked artery, what is the heart doing there? What is measles? What is that disease? Is it even a specific entity? It turns out it isn't. So I debunk the usual and then try to present an alternative way of looking at it. That's my books.
Right, Dr. Tom. So there's much to learn from you about all these things, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to learn about all these things through you, through your books, through the work that you are doing. So what's the best way for them to connect with you, Dr. Tom?
It's drtomcowan.com. That's drtomcowan.com. And then there will be links to the New Biology Clinic and the books and everything else. And I've probably done 500 YouTube videos on everything you can imagine.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.